I'm excited to introduce you to the co-founder and CEO of Anura, Rich Kahn. This is his latest company and has been a serial entrepreneur with several successful companies since 1993. He's a dedicated professional with decades of experience in digital marketing. Today, he is operating one of the fastest growing advertising and marketing companies in the United States. Anura is an ad fraud solution designed to improve campaign performance by actually exposing bots, malware, and human fraud. He knows himself very well after all these years. He has a great team and he is a proud father of four. There is a great conversation that goes in several areas very deeply. And there are three pillars I'm going to pull out for you right now. The first is we make decisions based off of our situation and the constraints we have. The second, we know what it takes to have a beat and a rhythm of what our business is. So, how do we keep that when we're not there? And the third, that the way we think about constraints when we define success, when we're working with opportunities, is ultimately how we shape our decisions. I'm so glad you're here. Tune in, enjoy my conversation with Rich Kahn, co-founder and CEO of Anura. You have been an entrepreneur. How many businesses have you had as an entrepreneur sequentially, right? Like just total. 32 years, right? Do I have that right?
32 years in the digital marketing space.
What about before that?
I did other businesses. Like when I was 11, I had my own landscaping business. I was a paper boy, which is entrepreneurial-ish because you got to
I
collect,
would agree with that.
you know, you got to,
That was back in the day where you actually had to knock on people's doors and collect money. That's entrepreneurship. Let's
yeah,
just be real.
door knocking. I've done that.
Uh-huh.
I've done a couple of small things, but nothing big. I
Okay.
think my first real entrepreneurial business was an email marketing magazine that I started in 93 before the internet went
Yes.
digital and
Yes.
before you really had a browser.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's only the geeks got online because it was very technical on how to get from one place to another. There was no easy way to get. It was interconnected, and I
Yeah.
loved it because in the 80s, when I was in high school, I built what was called a bulletin board system back in the day,
Uh-huh.
which is today's website.
Uh-huh.
And in order to access it, since computers weren't always connected, you had to dial a phone modem into another computer to access that site. So I had that all going. That was actually connected to ARPANET, which was the predecessor to
No way.
the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying all words I know. I never did that, but you're saying all the words I understand. I had a bulletin board as the internet was emerging at the end of high school and the beginning of college. Yeah. Email marketing before the internet is pretty interesting. So one of the things that I know that you have seen like the evolution and revolution of what technology can do for companies in a way that most people haven't. Even if they've been in business that long, whether it's corporate or otherwise, staying in the space that you have stayed in really feels like it would give you some sort of an edge. Do you feel like you have a deep business instinct about it? Like you know what's going to be coming before it comes?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Because if I did, right, I'd be retired by now.
come on. Would you really? You'd be finding something to do. I don't think
Yeah.
you're somebody who's going to retire in the traditional sense. Let's just be real.
No, I've got 1,000 things in my mind that I would do. But no, seriously, if I knew it was coming, like if I knew social media was coming, I would have started a social media site, right? If I knew AI was going to be hitting it, I would have been like, and actually not for nothing. When I was going to college, I got accepted to MIT for, it wasn't called robotics engineering, it was called electromechanical engineering. And I really wanted to study AI making robots more human, but 30 something years ago when I was going to college, technology was nowhere near where it is today. Like today, right now, being a robotics engineer would be awesome
Yeah.
because you have the AI available, you have access to very inexpensive components. You have a lot of that work that's been done over the last 30. Now's the time that I would have enjoyed. And you know what? If I ever decide to retire from this business, one of the things I said I would do is go back to school for robotics engineering just for fun.
Love that. So you haven't achieved all your dreams. You are not what you want to be when you grow up.
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Me too. I love that. And that makes life fun and different. How does that desire to do robotics and knowing that someday you're going to go back to school and do something totally different than you've been doing, how do you think that influences your thinking today?
The thinking for me, my whole life, every business I've built was bootstrapped. So you asked me a question, how many businesses I built? I think I built 6 or 7.
Uh-huh.
I'd have to count them up. All bootstrapped and all having to pay bills. So I didn't have the flexibility of, if you ever see the Social Network movie on Facebook,
Yeah.
and he says, you know what, we're just going to build something cool,
Uh-huh.
because he didn't have bills to pay. He was in
Right.
school, he was just having fun. And that to me is how some of the best businesses are built, is let's see if we can do this. The ones that are built, you build strong businesses, but it's, you know what, I want to build this business because I have rent to pay, I have a mortgage to pay, I have kids to raise. You make different decisions like that. So I'm interested, like I said, eventually when I retire from this business, I hopefully won't have to worry about paying the bills anymore. And now I can go do the stuff just for fun.
Now I'm going to ask this question because I'm very curious that you would make decisions differently if your situation was different.
Yes,
Did I reflect? Okay.
100%.
So, can you give me an example of a decision that you would make today using the constraints with which you've got, and then what that could look like if and when you don't have those same constraints?
I had a business that was really cool. And in 3 months, I had a buyer looking to buy the business from me for $60 million. There was a couple partners in the business.
Huh.
This was 2000,
Oh,
right?
hello. Good
Right.
place to be.
Yeah,
Technology business. Yeah. Yeah.
it was for a period of time. We had it
Well,
all locked
2000
up.
it was still good. That's why.
Well, April 28th, it was not good.
That's true.
We had the company sold. And it was getting infused with money, and we were going to be able to take this to a very different level. And at that point, because we had an influx of cash, I was not and worried about money anymore, like worried about paying the bills, because I knew, okay, we're getting in 60 million. My bills are going to be covered. Now I can just go do things for fun.
Yeah.
And I had a really interesting business built out that even today would be a phenomenal business. That's why I said I may eventually build that business out. So I won't get into too many details. But I actually have several ideas just like that. But just the thought of it, now it didn't get sold because of the fact that it was supposed to close April 28th of 2020, and April 14th is when the dot-com bubble burst,
Yes.
before tax day.
Yes.
So the deal came off the table, and I just continued
Everything.
building a business because I had to pay the bills. However, I had a glimpse of some of the ideas I was coming up with and some of the coolness that would have been around if I could have done that. And I think you would get, when you're not worried about paying the bills, you worry about making things more fun, more enjoyable. And because you're not playing it safe anymore. You're being ballsy because you
Uh-huh.
can, you know.
Yep.
If it fails, who cares? Like, you go out and do something just for fun. And I think if you look back over the last 30 years, the internet's been around. The internet's been around since September 1st of 1991. That's when it
Mhm.
got turned on. From everything I can look up, that's the date that it went live to the public.
Yeah.
If you look at all the businesses built, some of the ones that are like really cool today are ones that were, let's see if we can do it. Google, they weren't paying bills. Yahoo. Now, granted, Yahoo isn't what it was 20 years ago,
But I
but
think it's good to
Yahoo,
call them in. They go in that category for
yeah, but they
sure.
go in that category. There was
Yeah.
two guys out of a trailer park that
Yep.
decided to put this. The internet was taken off, and they decided, let's make an index. So you walk into a mall and you see a directory. Let's build a directory.
Yep.
No one knows where to go. No one knows how to get there. Let's show them the way.
Mhm.
We're just trying to put something together that was different and cool. A lot of the businesses that are household names today were just, that's how they started. They weren't, let's build a business because I got to pay bills. That wasn't. They had a different mentality, a different mindset, and I think that's what made some of these businesses that we all live in. Like TikTok was a, I'm sure was, I don't know the story of TikTok, but I'm sure it had to be with, let's do something different in social media.
Is it the actual constraint or is it our perception of the strength that or the constraint that makes us approach our decision making?
I think it's 100% perception, because you can still do the same thing, but you do it with guardrails on.
Always.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can't invest. I can't walk into a casino and bet black and hope I win, because I got a mortgage to pay. I got kids to feed. I've got responsibilities. So let me spread it around the board a little bit. Let's play it a little safe. Okay, we're not going to hit a home run, but if this hits, I'm gonna make profit. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, I'm still gonna be able to pay the bill. Like, at least maybe I'm the only one who thinks like this. I doubt it. But when you're building a business and you have concerns to worry, that's why some of the best businesses start as side hustles, because the bills are paid, Let's go do something for fun. And if it fails, no big deal. It's fun. And if it fails, we had fun doing it. If
Right.
it succeeds, that's the direction that, and that's just how maybe my experience is little. I'm sure it's different than everybody else's, but I'm sure people had similar space where you just think differently. You make different decisions.
You do.
Like my
You do.
father always calls me a risk taker. And I say, no, I'm not. I'm more of a very calculated risk taker because I've always had bills to pay. I've always had to worry about how I'm going to feed the family.
I agree with you about the perception piece. It's all about the perception of our constraints and where the rubber meets the road and what our priorities are as people, household, the obligations we have accepted. I think
Mhm.
that our actions have consequences, positive and negative, and we can choose to accept those or not. And sometimes we have a choice in that, and sometimes we don't, and that just makes our lives harder or easier. All of these things filter in together. And so when
Yeah.
you say calculated risk, how are you defining that?
There's that old saying, right?
Yeah.
What would you do right now if you knew you couldn't fail?
Yes, great.
Right? Very different than what would you do right now, but you have bills to pay, you have responsibilities to meet. So to me, that's the calculated risk. I would always make a risk. I would take a risk and again, this is in my mind, but on the outside, it's seen differently. A perfect example. I called my father one day. I said, "Hey, we're moving to Delaware." He goes, we were New Yorkers,
Uh-huh.
moving to Delaware." He goes, "Why moving to Delaware? You have a job down there?" I'm like, "No." "You have any friends down there?" "No." "Family?" "No." "How you gonna pay the bills?" "Oh, I'll figure it out."
Yeah.
But like in my mind, on the flip side, so on the outside, it looks like, hey, he's taking a big risk. In my mind, I'm like, I'm literally under 2 hour drive from 5 major cities.
Uh-huh.
Opportunities are out there. I'll find something. Not a big deal. I used to commute 2.5 hours to Manhattan from upstate New York. If I had a 2 hour commute, it's not that big a deal.
Mhm.
I'll find something. I'll make it work. And it was just we just fell in love with the place. Wanted to move down here for the kids. But in my mind, I had 5 different cities. I had calculated like it was. But on the outside, wait, you're moving to some place you have no opportunity, no job, no family, no friend. What are you thinking? And
Okay.
that's been my mentality
Yeah.
my whole life just because I've always had responsibilities. I
Uh-huh.
got married when I was 21, had my first child when I was 22,
Uh-huh.
bought my first house when I was 23, had big responsibilities early on, and always had a business. So I always, and not always, but I was always doing a business on the side at
Right.
minimum. And I always had that thought this needs to make money, this needs to make profit. So let me not bet big, let me bet small to medium so that I know if it pays off, I'm going to make more money. If not, I'm still making enough to pay the bills. And I think that just hinders entrepreneurship a little bit
Really? Being pragmatic does that?
in my mind, I think.
I'm listening to you, and I know some of the people listening and watching are probably like, Jess, that sounds like you. We actually have a lot in common. We actually have a lot in common. And one of the things we have in common is the conversation with a parent about moving. Mine wasn't to Delaware from New York. Mine was from Eastern Kansas to Seattle.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, well, I'll say yes and same thing. What you gonna do there? Don't know. I liked it when I visited.
Yeah.
Uh, how's it gonna work out? Don't know. I know it will. It was just I was part of a company and it was a startup and that was all fine, right? Same thing. Don't know. And so I my pragmatic side came out. I'm like, look, the only reason I won't go is if you tell me I can't come home and live with you if I fail. And my mom said, "Of course you can come home." I said, "Then what? What's the deal? I'll see ya." And I never looked back.
Yeah, you just got, but
But
in, like I said, in your
right?
mind, you had opportunity, you had something,
Yeah,
and you know what? You had a fallback plan. So,
that's true. There was a little bit of pragmatism in that.
yeah.
I wouldn't have done it if I didn't know how I was gonna fall because I like to bounce and I like to know there's something to bounce from, even if it's not a very high bounce, because it's a very hard fall, right?
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. So the sake of fun. So this is the theme for you, is what I'm hearing. Not having to be pragmatic, not having to worry about what those outcomes are, and just going for it because it sounds fun, regardless of what everything around us says, does, or feels.
Yeah,
That's entrepreneurship to you?
pretty much.
Okay. Hey, I love this. That's not how that I've never viewed it that way. And I think that this is a really fantastic conversation in the sense of maybe I've always built in the constraints and never looked at them like constraints. And so I'm hearing you and the pragmatist in you that is saying, Of course. And I've got to succeed. There is no option. So when we've got to succeed, it sounds like it changes the board game.
Changes your mentality and it changes the direction you head in.
Yeah.
As I grew up in different businesses, the business I'm currently in now, I didn't have to start. I had, in my mind, I had the ability to retire from my last company. I didn't need money anymore. So I'm like, I'm at a stage of that life that I can finally now start a business and not worry about, let's just do it for fun and make it the best I can make it, not worry about if it's going to make a profit from month one. And unfortunately, the way things laid out, I had to invest. I had to put everything I had on the line for the business. And I remember thinking, I trust the product. I love the product. I think it's going to do okay. And little by little, my wife and I agreed to put everything on the line. I'm like, I turned around and I go, I don't know how we got here, but we could lose everything. Everything. We've got it all on the line for this company. And we looked at each other and do we believe in the company? Do we believe in the product? And both said yes. So we're here.
Yeah.
Let's just work our asses off and do the
Yeah.
best we can.
And
And
are
we're
you
here.
in the middle of it? I was going to say, you're in the middle of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of it. We're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Company's growing. I'm
Uh-huh.
actually able to
Uh-huh.
trust my staff to handle it while I'm out for a couple of months. And it's not that I didn't trust my staff. It's that mentally I'm a control freak and I've got to have my hands on the beat of the business and being forced not to do that for weeks, if not months, is going to put a test. So I can see for myself that the team can handle it while I'm out.
You don't feel like you can have a beat of the business, on the business, within the business if you're not actually there?
Generally speaking, that's how I feel.
Now I'm curious because I'm like, ooh, this is really interesting because getting out of the center of our business is the hardest thing we can do, especially when we like to know and we trust the people around us and we have such a good working relationship that it feels like they have all the responsibility, which is real, yet they still come and you want to be the one that removes the obstacles that come up because it's probably what you're really good at, huh?
Yeah. I get a little taste of that when I just took a vacation recently where it's 2 weeks
Uh-huh.
and I check email night and day and I got through the whole week with really nothing major hitting the plate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can do that for a couple months if I have to.
Uh-huh.
The team's got it,
Uh-huh.
but the control freak in me it's going to test the control freak in me.
So you've been practicing to be out of the office a little bit longer and longer.
Yeah, last couple of years I've taken some vacations that are a little bit longer.
Yep.
Like I think last year we did a Panama Canal cruise.
Uh-huh.
The year before that, we did an Alaskan cruise, and these are like 2-week long vacations where I'm out of the office for 2 weeks. And the fact I can connect and get my email and just keep tabs on things and nudge people one direction or another if I have to, this next out will be less of that.
I was
I'm
going to ask
comfortable.
you, how long have you actually gone days in a row without checking your email?
None.
Ah!
Never.
Okay. That's interesting. I learned, and this was an interesting thing that I faced because I also know that there is so much that we read between the lines and we feel and we experience that adds to the knowledge that we have that makes us so good at what we're doing to get those split-second decisions, to understand how to adjust so that large pivots aren't necessary. That is a part of what it means to be a vision holder and a trailblazer along the way. I'm all in on that part. And then there was this time that I was like, what would actually happen? And how bad would it be if it actually went as bad as I thought? So I started with just the weekends and not checking my email on the weeks. That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my, like, to this day. You ask me
Oh,
what's
I'm just getting the sweats hearing about you doing it.
and see, and I'm like, okay, it's harder to not check my email on the weekends than it is to fight. I'm in the middle of a push-up challenge. I want to do 48 push-ups in a row by the time I'm 48. Okay. This is hard. I've taken a little bit of a sabbatical because of other life stuff, and I'm back in it now. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I actually was surprised I got as far as I did before. So I'm halfway there. I can do 24 in a row. That's where I'm at.
I tried that challenge.
I gave myself a whole year and I'm going real slow because I think right now I'm up to 60 push-ups 3 times a week, but they're in sets. So then every once in a while I'm like, how many can I actually do in a row? So I'm not doing 20 in a row in a set yet, which is nice, right? So I'm like nice and slow and I hate it. I hate push-ups, Rich. And I also know it's not as hard for me to do this as it is to not check my email.
Yeah.
So you've done that. How did your push-up challenge go?
My goal was to do 50 in a row.
Okay.
And that was just to get to that point because the ultimate goal is I wanted to get to 100 in a row.
Oh,
I
nice. Yes. Okay.
studied martial arts for 17 years.
Oh, cool.
And I was actually invited to the 2000 Olympics to compete.
Lovely.
Did not go because we had just had our second child, just bought a house, got my first big boy job. And I'm like, I can't give all this up for a couple of years.
Okay.
But I loved martial arts, enjoyed it very much. And one of the guys I've ran into, one of the senseis, I asked him, I'm like, guy was in great shape. I'm like, all right, how many hours do you spend in a gym a day? He's like, I don't do the gym. I do martial arts training. And he goes, I do 100 push-ups every morning.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I do. And that takes care of the core, the upper body, the arms, everything that you want to take care of. Push-ups, best exercise for you. So I said, all right,
Yeah.
I want to get to that, but let's start with shooting for 50.
Yeah.
Because at one point studied 4 different styles. I was in Kung Fu, which is Chinese martial arts. And for the black belt test, we required 50 push-ups. So I was trying to rework up to that again. And I got to about 40. And then we went on a 2-week trip. I think it was to Panama. I came back. I couldn't do 20. I'm like, in 2 weeks, it took me like months to get up to that level.
Yep.
And in 2 weeks, I lost half of it. I'm like, oh my God. It was just so deflating. I just stopped.
That's actually where I'm at, is that the over thing is how many you lose when you stop, which makes it real.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let's just be real. That ties back into, and I don't like to say this because I like to help people get out of the center of their businesses. But we're talking about this, and the reality is there is some sort of an art in here where you can't fully be out of the business and actually have a pulse of the business. You are either a business owner that is active, and that can still be not the center and very active to have all of that knowledge, or it's inactive and the way that decisions are made are going to be very different based off of where the seat is in relationship to that day to day. So we're coming back to, you're sweating about 2 days of not answering email, and I get it. And at the same point in time, I'm thinking, because how old is your business?
8 years.
It's 8. That's what I thought.
The technology is 21 years old.
Uh-huh.
I built the first version of it myself. In 2004 and 5 is when I started that first version.
Yeah.
And we built it in another company to solve a problem that we needed solved. So no solution existed. So I built it myself. And then 10 years later, realized we had clients asking, if not begging, to use it outside of our network. And then we spun it off in its own company. It's how we spun it off. But this company has a standalone solution. April 1st of 2017 was it launched.
It has legs. You have a team. They can do it. But I get that. How much do I lose when I go away? And so then is it the test of, so how long can I go away and still have the pulse? Or what does my cadence or rhythm change so that I can keep the pulse and still have that, right? Like push-ups versus no other workouts. That is amazing to me that you said one of your senseis told you that. I'm thinking, how cool is that? So there's got to be a way in business too, I'm thinking, to just do one thing well and have that connection.
Are you familiar with EOS?
Yeah.
Okay. So we run the company through EOS. Yep. Literally, I think I typically don't do the EOS leadership meetings once a week when I'm out. So I let the team continue on the last instructions that we had. They have their quarterly goals and everything else. They know what they're supposed to be doing. But depending on how long I'm out, so I might, because I'm planning on being out for 3 months, I can't go 3 months without having team meetings, leadership meetings at least once a week. So I'll probably take 2 weeks off.
Yep.
See where I feel, and as long as I'm up to it, do those leadership meetings. Just I won't be in person. I'll be remote. I'm a big in person.
Me too.
Old school. Yeah. I mean, our entire staff is in the office except for a few people. Yeah,
I run a completely dispersed team, but I do like to be in person as much as possible. And in fact, I build it into what we're doing just because there's special. This is more special than email or texting or phone. Don't get me wrong. What we've got right here. And there is a deepness, that you get being in person that even video doesn't allow for. And in a world of distraction, everything that we can do for presence becomes more. I believe that's our next set of superpowers. If somebody can be present and they can be without their technology and interruptions for 90 minutes, that is something very few people in this world will ever be able to do.
Yeah,
Just like very few people choose to write their goals down. So being part of EOS, you write your goals down.
I do.
Yeah, me too. I really like what Gino Wickman put together when he originally put it out all those years ago. And I think there's a lot of value in that particular kind of system. What is the thing that you turned out to need and like most that benefited you as the torchbearer in the business through the systems that you've picked up from EOS that you use?
You know what? All the businesses I've had before, I've never had regular scheduled weekly meetings with my leadership
Oh,
staff
okay.
and never did quarterly meetings, quarterly
Mhm.
planning. Like it just, I'm a big believer in writing down personal goals and never did it for the company and never sat and coached my leadership to put their goals in writing and hold them accountable. So it was just adding that layer of structure that we didn't have, which I really enjoyed through EOS.
How does accountability show up? Yeah.
So in other words, someone commits, so maybe my VP of marketing commits to doing a series of tasks during the quarter. That's not like a write a blog or something like that, but like a long task. We're going to have a new ebook out. We're going to have a new two new case studies out this quarter. Like putting those down and then agreeing with the individual saying, yeah, that would be a good goal for us to accomplish this quarter. And
Mhm.
then at the end of the quarter, what did you accomplish those goals? Like going down the list each week, going down the list. How are we doing on this? Is there anything I can help you with? Are you stuck on anything?
Yeah.
What can I do to support you in reaching those goals?
Time have you saved with that?
I think we're more productive. I don't know if it's time saved, but it does reduce the number of meetings that we would have in the course of the week with leadership because we just meet once a week, everything gets done. And then there'll be times where I'm having a conversation with someone and it's, you know what, let's add that to the EOS board for next week. Let's just try to minimize the number of meetings that we have, just try to reduce meetings, but
Yeah.
have more productive meetings.
Who holds you accountable?
My team.
And they're willing to stand up and say,
Oh, yeah.
good. Hey, I love that. Kudos to you. That is something that I wish for every company. Did it change the way you hired and onboarded?
Yeah. So we now focus on certain things like it's with EOS, they call it the GWC.
Yep.
Does the individual get what you're trying to do? Do they really want to do what you're trying to hire them for? And do they have the competency to get it done? And then do they follow our core values?
Yep.
Are they good with our and we have very straightforward core values, nothing crazy.
No,
But
I
there's
don't believe that.
times
How unique are they? Come on, tell us your values.
it's basically it's an acronym for Anura. We just
Uh-huh.
decided to do something like that. So authentic. We want people to be themselves.
Yep.
Don't hide yourself. We had some people that were trying to hide who they really were. And it's be yourself, be authentic, be who you are. We hired that person. I want that person in my company because I want the diversity. I want the different ideas. I want what you bring to the table. Be authentic. And is never satisfied. So build something, write something, be happy with it, but know that you can do a better job on it. So next time we do it, we do a better job. So never satisfied is a good thing. United, we work together as a team. We want everybody to be able to work with each other. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you have to be able to work with each other. So united, reliable. If I give you a task or somebody gives you a task and you say, I'm going to do it, I should be able to bank on the fact it's going to get done. I shouldn't have to come back to say, hey, what happened to that project that we discussed 3 weeks ago? Oh, yeah, I forgot about it. No, I don't want to hear that. It's reliable. I should be able to rely on you. And the final A is a lot of fun. Just
I like that. I love that.
our last company, we had 3 core values:
Uh-huh.
work hard, play hard, eat hard.
Hey, they fit into the new ones. ANURA, right? That's 5. They fit into the 5 very well.
They fit in there in
They
some
do.
fashion.
I love that. It's so ever evolving. That is so great. Anara, how did you come up with the name?
So it's interesting. So in our first company, my wife and I were putting together, and it was back 2003. And I said, we're building up a contest search engine. So it's going to be fun and playful. We should have a mascot of some sort. And we lived in Frog Hollow Golf Course. So the frog became the example of it. This technology was built inside that company. So when we came out to it, we were trying to look for names, and my wife came up with Anura. And I'm like, it's short, it's 5 characters. Is it available? I like it. But where'd you come up with that? In the animal kingdom, the classification for frogs is Anura.
You're going to be out of office for 3 months. You're going to have weekly meetings with your team at some point after probably 2 weeks or so. So now I want to know, what is the best case scenario that can happen in your mind from being all the way out of office and still being able to have a beef in your company of what
Yeah.
is going on?
Everything's and numbers are growing. Everybody's getting their goals or their rocks accomplished.
Yep.
And I'm stepping more and more outside the company on by basically by physical demand. I can't be there. So everything continues to grow. And I just don't worst case scenario would everything would be stagnant or the company would be, shrinking. Sales are
Mhm.
dropping. But I expect and hope things are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Goals are being accomplished.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And yeah, that's what we're
Yeah.
looking for.
And it sounds, how long have you been working with EOS in Anura?
4 years?
Yeah. So you've got your cadence and your flow. I think
Yeah.
that's something to totally, out of all of the tools and all of the systems and all of the other stuff that changes, something like that, quarter after quarter, 4 times 4 for 16 quarters, that's actually pretty amazing to be able to lean into a lot. And
Yeah.
you know what the support and the expectations and the actual results of the accountability have been. And so that's pretty cool too, because one of the things I love about a cadence like that, and you can tell me this is also the hardest thing. It's easiest to say. It just helps you and you can lean into it. But the hardest thing is actually going, okay, so what is it showing me? And am I really going to accept what it's showing me? And do I want to improve that? Are we going to do what it takes to do that? And how does that actually impact what our end goal is when we put ourselves out of business all these years from now, or when we can show up to whatever new opportunity might need an immediate response versus waiting until the next week's meeting or waiting until the next quarter or year. Being able to have that confidence to wait, I think some people, I think some, you tell me how you feel about this. I run into businesses and business owners, and by the way, I fall into this category too, which is probably why it's easy to see. I will wait because I don't know what to do versus waiting because I know the time is not right.
Interesting.
How does that show up for you?
More like waiting to see what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Like,
So a
I
little bit of a
think
middle.
yeah, somewhere in that midstream of that, I think.
Yeah. And you've got this cadence and you've got this stuff and you've got your expectations and you're growing and we've got all this awesome stuff going on. How do you reflect?
Generally, I get into the office, get my morning meetings out of the way,
Yeah.
and I usually have a set time where I'll just sit down, got a couch, lay down, and just, all right, what do I want to accomplish today? What's my goals for today? And that's my reflection period.
Every
Yeah, say 4 days a week.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Is
say
that your
4 days
work
a week.
week?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I have 5 days of work week, but something somewhere during the week, usually it's my EOS meeting
Uh-huh.
because I have my morning meeting and I go straight into my EOS, and by then it's now 10 o'clock, and my day's just going. So that's generally why I say 4 days a week.
Oh, but so you're doing it with your team instead. So I'm going to call it still 5 days.
All right.
You're doing
Yeah, I see what
because
you're saying.
you're bringing your team into one. How about that?
True. That
And
works.
that's a big deal when you're building a company that's going to grow and stand on its own with you standing looking at the garden instead of being one of the flowers in the garden.
Yep.
That's interesting. I spend several hours one day a week to work on things and then I'm just in the midst of it. So I have some concept of what needs to occur in a week or in 4 weeks from now or whatever it is. And then that changes and adjusts week to week. One of my biggest things, and you'll have to tell me if you don't have this problem, I want to know if you did and you solved it, which is I love to say yes. I love to give freely of time. And what I have to do every single week as part of my strategic time, which I call a present retreat, I'm getting rid of meetings on my calendar. I'm getting rid of things that I said yes to with complete humbleness because they don't match, they don't line up, and or they're not the right time. And I have to free up time every single week so that deep work can be done and the actual things that need to occur can really occur. Have you ever had that?
I've had that times where I say yes a lot to just
Yeah.
bring on the meeting because I'm like, yeah, I've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I walk in, I look at my daily schedule, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to go to lunch. I'm not going to be able to to
Yeah.
the bathroom. We got to
Exactly.
fix this. And then
Right.
I'll go into the people's calendars where it says reschedule and I'll bounce it out to a day that's not so busy.
Yeah.
Some people I'll email and say, look, I just got double booked. I can't make it. I just got to free up
Mhm.
some free time to get stuff done. Yeah.
When you are thinking about the indicators you're using in your business for success, the ones that you're using day to day, will you share those with us?
Generally don't do that.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think so. I just push through because I guess when we're doing the planning, we don't overplan for too much to
Okay.
get accomplished.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not backtracking on certain things.
How many opportunities do you say no to in a week?
Handful.
Okay.
I would say
Versus
about a
how many
handful.
do you get?
I'd probably say I probably get a dozen opportunities a week to
Uh-huh.
different things that I'm looking at,
Yep.
and
You
I'll
say no
probably
to
accept
just
about
over
half.
half.
About half. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Does that feel good? Does that feel right for you? Does it feel out of balance?
that feels balanced.
Yeah.
Like I've done it before, where I'll get 10 or 12 opportunities in a week, and I'll say yes to them all, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
much.
Too
I
much.
because I can't say yes to everybody.
Wouldn't
So I
that be
look at,
nice?
yeah, if I had
It
the
would
time
be.
and the resources, but
Uh-huh. Yeah.
we're a team of about 30 people, so
Uh-huh.
there's limited resources.
What's the most surprising out of your business from 1993 to now, with all of the businesses and the 32 years specifically in digital marketing, what is the thing you are most surprised by? And when was it?
Yeah, a couple things, but the one that I can think of is in 2000 when I had that company sold and the dot-com bubble bursted. My reaction to losing a $60 million deal when I was 28 years old was not like I thought it would be. I was like, okay, not a big deal. Like it really wasn't a big deal because we're making so much money as a company. We had such a great direction that we were heading in that losing that deal wasn't a big deal. And I'm shocked with my response to that. And I remember it because I remember the dot-com bubble bursting on the 14th. We were supposed to close on the 28th, and the buyer said nothing for a week and a half. And me and the partners are like, something's got to get, like, they're just not moving for, like, the whole premise is they were going public, and because they were going public, all this money was going to be available, and blah blah blah. And we were trying to sexy up they were just a consulting business, so they didn't really have anything dot-com sexy, and we were that dot-com sexy at the time, as we were paying people to surf the web, so there was like some sexiness there, and they needed us, and I'm like, something's got to give. And then all of a sudden we got the call, hey, their CEO wanted to take me out for lunch, and I'm like, okay, here's where the deal comes off the table. And when it happened, I remember leading up to that meeting, I thought, oh man, this is gonna suck. We're gonna lose this big deal. We're only 28. How cool would it be? Blah blah blah, to sell your first company when you're 28. Blah. And when he said it, I'm like, and he says, we can still do the deal, but all the cash is off the table. I'm like, then there's nothing there for us. I've got cash coming in. Why would I give that cash to you and not get anything back in return? Not a big deal. When this storm weathers and we could talk about it down the road. And I came back to the team and I'm like, yeah, it came off the table like we thought. And everyone's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel fine. Like, we're bringing in a ton of cash. So there's no cash on the table. There's no, like, to me, I was shocked at that response of myself.
Yeah. Looking back, are you proud of yourself for that response?
Yeah. Cause like I said, we were making a ton of money. So it didn't
Yeah.
make a big deal.
Uh-huh.
However, hindsight, the whole .com crashed and our business went with it over the next several months. So if we would have cashed out, we would have cash in hand, but led me to another business, which did really well. And that led me to the next business. So like each one was a learning point and each one led me to the next business.
As you were switching from business to business, is there a common trait that took you there? Was it instinct? Was it what I'm interested enough to do it within the constraints I have? Was it something different than that?
It was having to pay the bills. There wasn't anything grand. It was just, hey, I've got to pay the bills. What can I do right now to pay the bills? And honestly, the business I'm in today was the first one. We didn't start with that mentality because we solved that problem with the last company.
Uh-huh.
And it was just, hey, people are asking for this product. It wasn't a product that we had planned to sell. I even took my last company through a process to sell the company,
Yeah.
spoke to Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Microsoft, and about a half a dozen other big companies. And they all said the same thing. They didn't care about my other company. They really liked the fraud detection solution that I had built in the new company.
Yeah.
And they all asked the same two questions. Is it a standalone product? And you have clients behind it? And I had to say no. And they all said the same thing. Once you do, call us back. So
Yep.
get kicked in the head once in a while. And you said, okay, this is what is valuable. This is what clients want. Let's build it. And
Mhm.
we did. And it didn't. And it was one of the first companies I built that didn't. I wasn't worried about the finances because I had another company that was taking care of my finances. So
Uh-huh.
let's just build it because we can.
So you've already started down this path of what you want to do next with even less constraint in the future.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like, right?
Yep.
You're on that path of building. So is that what success looks like to you?
Success to me looks like when you're working on a project and not worried about the finances.
Hmm.
That's one level of success because then you're not confined to the bottom line. Is it making a profit? Can I pay the bills? Like to me, that was always something I was always concerned about. That I grew up on welfare when I was young. I never wanted that for my family. So that became ingrained in my head. How do I build something that's going to pay the bills?
There's something incredibly special and strive and protect everything I can for my freedom that money brings. There that I don't have scarcity, right? There's something going on. So I share that. I'm saying a whole bunch of different words, but I share that with you. The freedom, I want freedom that of money. That is something I hear you saying, and that resonates deeply in my heart and in my gut. Where do you make decisions from? Do you make decisions from your head, your heart, or your gut? I'm a gut girl.
I'm a head guy.
Your head guy. Well, it
Yeah.
comes back down to that. I'm gonna call you pragmatic. You are not using that word. I am using that word. I am making decisions with known constraints,
Yep.
and they are a priority, which is fantastic. Yeah, I was thinking about what makes it bold to let go of some control, knowing all of the work you put in results in success over and over again, right? That's your past. Your past is I'm going to do it. I'm going to pay my bills. I'm going to build. I've got a new skill. I'm going to go do this again. And I'm going to keep doing this within the constraints I have and the obligations that I have accepted and want in my life. But then I was thinking, you know exactly what you want when you make a decision. So maybe is that what makes it bold? What makes it bold to know exactly what you want to be able to make those decisions because it will result in achieved goals and the success as you just defined it.
So I'm thinking, and that's what this next couple months for me is going to be. Is the next level of success for me is stepping away from the day-to-day business, checking email every 30 seconds, right? Staying on top of the details of the business and watching the company that I've built continue to do what everybody knows what to do without me being involved, I guess is the best way to put it. To me, that's that next bold statement of growth for me is, and it's and it's always been personal, never been the business.
Yeah.
I've always had a good solid team behind me. All the businesses that I've had, once we got to a point where we started hiring people, we always hired good people, or I should say, we always hired because every time you hire somebody, you're always hiring generally good people, right? But it's hiring the right person for that seat. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Do they get the business direction? Are they are they a company person that really wants to focus on seeing the business grow? And I can say that about my staff. My staff is, they love to see the product get better. They love to see the clients that call up and, oh my God, you've transformed my business with your technology. They love to hear those stories. So like we try to share them as different departments get that story. So if customer success gets a story, or salesperson gets that, or developers, I hear it from different trade shows that I go to or different business meetings that I go to. So we try to share those stories so everybody gets that, but they all thrive in seeing the company do better. Now it's watching the company get better without me is more of a me thing than anything else. And I think this next forced outage for me, this next forced time away from the company is going to prove that to myself.